Hi, in today's video we're going to be talking about how to deploy a hub and spoke topology in Azure. Now this is going to be a series of videos just to kind of go over the requirements needed, and we're going to do this via terraform to kind of automate the process, kind of show some of the different ways you can do this. It kind of makes it easier, say if you want to move from one region to another. You may not get into like variabilizing everything, but kind of get into being able to automate these kind of infrastructures to kind of move and be more agile in the cloud. So what we're going to do is kind of deploy something in this realm, and a hub and spoke model is one of the architectures in Azure that's more talked about, only because of just how easy it is to kind of centrally manage a lot of the resources that are shared. So like in this model, as you can see, we got two spoke networks and then a main hub network. And so what we can do is, instead of having to connect this one to this one and then peer this one to this one, we can just peer everything to the main hub and allow them to talk over that particular connection. And then there we can also then deploy firewalls, any type of shared services like key vaults, any security related things in that area, and then force anything coming here to go out to the internet through there. So it kind of also helps for like centrally managing things like that that could be then allocated to a specific team, such as like, you know, networkers or cloud engineers and things like that. So to get started with that, first what we're going to do is, if you don't already have Terraform installed, you're going to need that, and you can get that from terraform.io. And you can actually just easily, if you're using Windows, click on this download option. Follow these steps here. If you got Windows, Linux, or whatever, it'll basically just walk you through setting this up for your environment. So I already have this installed, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code, which is my editor of choice, and I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm going to just throw that on my C drive here, and I'm just going to call this new folder Azure Hub and Spoke, and we hit select. And now let's go ahead and just put some required files in here. So we're going to need a main.tf, and these can be named whatever. The more important part is the .tf, which is what's read whenever you're running your Terraform files. So then I'm going to do another one. I'm just going to put this provider.tf. And if we get into like any variables, you can throw them in there. So for the most part, let's go ahead and get kind of started on this. So first thing we're going to need is our providers for Terraform. So if we go into the registry, which we can go back here, we go browse modules, Azure, and then documentation. So the only thing you really need to actually get started with using the Terraform provider for Azure is this portion here. What you want to do is then I'll throw that in my providers file, and that way if I have to add any other providers, I can just have them all listed down there, whether we're needing Azure AD, anything like that. And then this one is basically just a block to provide the required providers block that's needed if someone else was, say, be using your code. And then the version here. So we'll go with the latest version, which we can find up here, version 3.28. And save that. And then now inside of our main folder, so what we're going to need to do, a lot of ways you can kind of visualize what you're needing in Terraform is to do it through the portal. So when building projects or networks in Azure, the first thing you're always going to need is a resource group. So you can literally go to create a resource, go to type in resource group, and it's going to pop up there. And you can hit create and walk through the steps. Well, the thing is, you don't want to always have to keep doing that. So if you want to figure out how to do it through here, I'm going to go find resource group. And I'm just going to go ahead and take, oh, that's not the one we're looking for. Yeah, there we go. So there, let's take that and put that in there. And then we're going to go ahead and name this main, because we're only going to need one resource group. You can only have one name that uses the same reference name when you're utilizing, like, say, multiple resource groups. So if we were creating another resource group, we would have to name, it can't be main again. It needs to be like, say, test resource group or whatever you want to call it, but it doesn't have to confine to anything. So I'm going to call this main network, and I'm going to put it in East US. And these have to match up with actual locations that are in Azure. So if they fail, it'll let you know, and it'll also give you the options as well. And then next, inside of our block here, we're going to need to create a virtual network. Now, we're going to kind of deploy this in a way in which we have two virtual networks that then also have two subnets in them. We're going to put two virtual machines inside of them, and then we'll have our main hub network that will kind of route between the two with the virtual peering section. The peering connection we'll create between them. So in here, we're going to do another resource block. The name is going to be Azure RM _ virtual network, and it's going to be, we're going to call this dev network. And the name is going to equal dev network location equal Azure RM, the resource group dot location, and then resource group name, and then we can see what other stuff we need for virtual network here. So virtual network, type in some more here, dwindle it down. So Azure RM virtual network. So all the required things are, we need a name, resource group, address space, location. So let's do address space. And that's going to, we're going to make this 10.0.0 /16, and this actually needs alright, so we got everything from 10.0.0.0/16. So everything in this first two octets, and then .255.255 is going to be available. So now what we can do is we're going to copy this, and we're going to create this 3 times. Now there's ways we can go about not having to do this 3 times. We can do like loops, we can do counts, stuff like that, but it's easier to kind of understand how it's built by kind of separating it. And then to clean your code up, you can always go back and modulize it or variabilize it, as long as you're not changing any infrastructure that's already there that will be in your state file. So I'm going to go change this to dev network. This is going to be corp. Let's just call it corporate network, and then, it's actually dev test, and then this is going to be hub network. And when actually peering connections together, you have to make sure that these address spaces don't overlap either, because if they do, then what will happen is you won't be able to peer them because the address spaces overlap. And typically in a network, you don't want overlapping addresses anyway, because if other resources share those same common names, then they could have trouble or cause problems communicating. then this is going to be hub. We already had it. So then I'm going to go 10.0 here. I'm going to go 10.1 here, and then 10.2 here. So I got different networks, and now we're going to need some subnets in those there. So to do that, we're going to go 10. We're actually going to put the subnets in between here. So subnet name is going to be dev subnet. Let's copy this and let's just put them in between. Another great practice is too to also do some commenting. As you can see from like how our provider block is, you just need a pound key, hashtag, whatever you want to call it, and then you can write whatever you want, and then Terraform will look over those or not try to compute anything that it's in those or behind those blocks. So for the subnet, we're going to need anything that's required. Now we could do subnet inside of the virtual network, but I like to actually separate them just in case we need to reference them. It's actually a little easier to do it that way. So we're needing requirements are name, resource group name, virtual name, network name, and an address prefix. There's some other stuff we can get into, but not really needed right now at the moment here. So no service delegation block. So we'll do name equals dev subnet location azure RM name dot location. Got a problem somewhere. Typically when it's like this that you know something isn't correct. So let's see what's wrong. So we got dev subnet. Go back here. Name equals. Oh wait, why isn't that? Oh, we don't need location. Okay, sorry. Yeah, usually when it's white like that, it means something's off. That's why VS Code is kind of good to kind of fix things before you run. So we need resource group name, virtual network name. Okay. Source underscore group name. Oh, this keeps, okay, let me clear the whole line out. Resource group. Why is it like, okay, this is, alright, there we go. Alright, so Azure RM dot name, and then we need virtual network name. So this is actually going to be we're going to need to, so this is dev subnet, it's going to dev virtual network. This one's going to go into this one to this one. So that's how you associate those. So it's Azure RM, virtual network, and then dev dot name. And then address prefix is going to be, we're going to take the first network in this here, so we're going to go 10.1.0.0/24, and you can kind of just take all this and just copy it in and just make some quick changes. And I'll show you a way to clean this up real quick, fast at the end here. So test network, dev subnet. And this is going to be test subnet. This is going to be saying this is going to be changed to test network. We're going to change this to, oh, actually, you know what? I did this wrong here. So we're going to go 10.0.0.0/24. This is going to go 10.0, or no, 10.1.1/24. We'll do that. Actually, yeah, we'll do ones for all these just to make it. So 10.1, 1, 10.2.1. Alright. So test subnet. It's going to be dev subnet. Oh no, this is test. Sorry. Spelled it wrong. So test subnet, and then this is going to be hub network. And then hub network here. Hub subnet. Alright, and save. And then I can actually open the terminal. So if I open the terminal here, this folder, we can actually run a terraform format, and it cleans everything up kind of for us there. First thing we need to do too is I need to log in. So do az login. You can do a connect az account, and then device ID or device code. Alright, and then I can take this URL, paste it up here, and then take that code, paste it in as well. And then that's going to connect that should pop up here with all my accounts. That's going to show. So if you have multiple accounts, you can actually set. So I think it's AZ. I believe it might be. There's like there's a command you can do to set a specific subscription if you have multiples to a specific one, so that you can deploy into that subscription, resource group, whatever. So now I can run a terraform init. Duplicate resource name. Oh, okay, yeah, where we at here? So this is test subnet, hub subnet. See if we got any more. All right, so that fixed that. So now we got everything set. We got our virtual networks created, we got our subnets created, and that's it for this part. So now essentially from this picture, we have virtual network, subnet in there created, subnet, and then now we'll go ahead and run this. Terraform plan. And then this is going to detail out everything that's needed. And then it should have us creating a bunch of different resources. And then once the plan's ran, we can do the terraform apply here. So we got 7 things being created. So terraform apply auto approve. Now this may take a little long, so once this finishes, we'll jump into the portal to see what's all been created. All right, so that's been completed, and then go into our account here, and we should see main network created, our 3 virtual networks. and we should see our subnets. So dev subnet, and all the other ones will have the other ones created in there. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll set up actually peering everything to the hub network, and then from there go into building our virtual machines and things like that we'll need to try to communicate between the two. So again, if you have any questions in regards to this section of the videos, go ahead and drop me a comment down below, and I'll be sure to help you where I can. Again, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.